Last season, Jacy Sheldon was involved in a controversial moment when she poked Caitlin Clark in the eye, and the reaction at the time was surprisingly minimal. Sophie Cunningham stepped in before the game ended and confronted Sheldon, but the league response was very light, and Sheldon avoided any serious punishment. Because of that history, when the Indiana Fever were set to face the Chicago Sky again on June 11, there was already tension building before the game even started. Fans were not just focused on the matchup itself, but on whether Sheldon would try something similar again and, more importantly, who would respond this time in Cunningham's absence.
Boston can't finish. Pass ahead. Sheldon.
In the game, Sheldon did once again get involved in a physical altercation, but this time Myisha Hines-Allen delivered a strong response that sent Sheldon to the floor after a hard defensive play. That moment immediately became the talking point of the night. The original incident that started all this tension goes back to a previous matchup where Jacy Sheldon aggressively swiped at Caitlin Clark's face and made direct contact with her eye.
Trailing by 10, keep an eye on her and Jacy Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down. Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that, then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Reaction showed clear pain and shock, as if she could not believe how hard the contact actually was. The situation escalated further when Marina Mabrey also delivered a hard body check on Clark right after the eye contact, knocking her to the floor in full view of everyone. The referees reviewed the play and only issued a technical foul to Mabrey, which many fans felt was far too lenient given the severity of the contact. The lack of serious punishment created frustration among Indiana supporters because Clark had taken multiple hits in one sequence, yet no real protective response came from the court or officials. That moment became the foundation for why the rematch carried so much emotional and physical intensity.
Sophie commits a hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely.
Cunningham ultimately became the player who changed the tone of that situation before the game even finished. In the closing minute, she stepped in physically, wrapping Jacy Sheldon up and bringing her hard to the floor in a clear message that the earlier contact against Caitlin Clark was not going to be ignored. The officials assessed it as a flagrant 2, which led to Cunningham's ejection from the game. Even though that type of foul ends a player's night immediately, Indiana fans reacted differently. Instead of criticism, there was a sense of approval inside the arena, with many supporters feeling that someone on the roster had finally responded in a way the situation demanded. For them, it wasn't just about the foul itself, but about the statement it made. Clark was no longer going to be left unprotected on the court.
Cunningham has been Caitlin Clark's biggest cheerleader and defender.
And it literally pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? When people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as.
The sad truth about this video we just watched is she is the first WNBA player I have seen to openly say this out loud, publicly, and not be ashamed.
Despite that moment, the league response to Sheldon after the incident remained minimal. There was no widely reported suspension, no significant fine, and she was able to move forward without any major disciplinary consequences. That lack of punishment only added to the frustration among Fever fans, who felt the issue had not been properly addressed. As a result, Cunningham's actions turned her into the player many fans looked to as the on-court enforcer, someone who would step in if Sheldon crossed the line again. What made the situation more complicated was Cunningham's strong public stance regarding Caitlin Clark.
12 points, 4 assists thus far.
This is attacking on the baseline.
Consistently supported her and defended her impact on the league, even speaking openly about Clark's importance to the WNBA and pushing back against critics who downplay her influence. That honesty made her absence from the June 11th roster even more noticeable. When that game arrived, Cunningham was not available, whether due to injury or other internal team decisions that were never officially clarified. Rumors circulated about possible disciplinary reasons linked to earlier actions, but nothing was confirmed by the organization. Either way, the result was the same: Cunningham was not on the court. And that meant Indiana entered a high-tension matchup against Jacy Sheldon without the one player who had already shown she was willing to respond physically when things escalated.
Blocked at the rim, Cardoso. Boston looked home free. Sheldon, oh, it's sent back! Hines Allen says, you can't come in here.
Who had already spent possessions defending Clark aggressively in previous meetings, was once again in position to guard her. But this time, there was a major difference. Cunningham was no longer on the floor to enforce anything, only watching from the bench in street clothes. Jacy Sheldon came into this matchup with the same aggressive defensive approach she has consistently used against Caitlin Clark. Throughout the game, she stayed physical, bumping through screens, staying attached on every possession, and using quick swiping hand checks that sometimes get called by officials and other times are simply allowed to continue. It wasn't a subtle style, and it certainly wasn't accidental.
Oh, it's sent back! Hines Allen! Sent back! Hines!
In the opening minutes, she made it clear she was going to be physical, and the Indiana Fever bench was closely watching every exchange unfold. As the game progressed, another tense moment arrived when Sheldon once again swiped downward toward Clark's face area. The contact went toward the hand and face region, causing Clark's head to snap back instantly. For everyone watching, it triggered immediate déjà vu of earlier incidents. Those moments where Clark had taken contact and nothing meaningful had followed in response. The reaction was instant, the crowd gasped, the bench reacted, and the energy in the arena shifted into something far more tense. But what made this game different was the response that followed from Myisha Hines Allen. She had already been contributing heavily off the bench all night, playing with intensity, fighting for rebounds, loose balls, and doing all the small things that don't always show up in basic stats but completely change the flow of the game.
Pass ahead, Sheldon, swatted! Hines Allen sent that to Noblesville.
Right here, chase down block. Sheldon trying to get her steps right. Hines Allen. We talk about a spark plug.
Her impact was reflected in a strong plus-minus of +25, showing just how much better Indiana performed with her on the floor. Then came the defining moment. Later in the game, when Sheldon drove aggressively toward the basket, Hines Allen met her at the rim and delivered a perfectly timed, clean rejection. It wasn't just a block, it was a powerful defensive statement that sent Sheldon to the floor and immediately ignited the crowd.
Tonight, another Commissioner's Cup game. The Fever are in defense of their championship from a year ago. They likely need to win tonight to keep those chances alive. That pass deflected way outside for Clark, who drops a three.
Makes it look so easy.
She's coming off a great defensive performance in Washington, where she held Citron well below her season averages. Clark spins, fades, fires, and hits.
Good double team.
Clark just oozing confidence, hits to Boston, and it's right on the money.
The play was ruled completely clean, with no foul called, and the reaction from the arena began even before people fully processed what had happened. The message in that moment was clear without anyone needing to say a word: the paint was protected. Hines Allen did not celebrate excessively or try to draw attention to herself. She simply landed, turned, and ran back up the floor as if it was just another possession.
She hasn't been to the free throw line very often, but that will set up her ability to get to the line by knocking down triples.
Here's Boston's second three-point look. That one goes down. It's her 11th already of the season. She hit 6 a year ago.
There's that get action that's really tough to guard.
Boston finds some space, lays it in, and an and one herself, an answer for Boston. This run started with Taylor. Boston hounding Stevens. Shot clock down to 7. Boston comes up with the block.
That understated reaction actually made the moment feel even more impactful because it wasn't performative, it was businesslike dominance. On the sidelines, Caitlin Clark's reaction told its own story. Instead of anger or confrontation, she had a calm, almost empathetic expression, as if she understood exactly how the sequence unfolded and what it meant in the larger context of the game. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham, who was watching from the bench in street clothes due to injury, could be seen reacting with laughter, clearly engaged with the intensity of the moment. Even though she wasn't on the floor, the fever bench erupted afterward, and the atmosphere inside the arena shifted noticeably. The energy changed from tension to control, as Indiana reasserted itself physically and emotionally.
Clark, driving baseline, creates some space and finishes with the reverse.
That looked like a little bit of matchup zone to me.
Indiana needs offense. Clark spinning. Clark, oh, she got to the rim!
The bigger takeaway from this sequence was clear: the responsibility of protecting Caitlin Clark is no longer tied to just one player. It has become something shared across the roster, with different players stepping up in different moments to set the tone. While all the physical tension and defensive battles were unfolding around Jacy Sheldon, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston were putting together a historic performance that had never been seen before in WNBA history, and it all happened in the same game, on the same court, under the same pressure.
Hull gets in there, Boston another offensive rebound. It's Indiana's 13th. Boston lays it in, and a foul! The offensive rebounds.
Clark finished the night with 32 points and 10 assists, delivering yet another elite all-around performance. What stood out even more than the scoring total was her perfect efficiency at the free throw line. She went 15-for-15 without a single miss. Every time she was sent to the line, she converted, showing complete control and composure despite being bumped, fouled, and physically challenged throughout the entire game.
On the shot clock. Clark driving, blocked by Koulibaly. Oh! Looking like Anunoby. Sorry, San Antonio fans.
Ouch, Grady. Yeah, that hurt a lot of people.
It was reminiscent.
That level of focus under constant pressure says a lot about her mentality. She also added 7 rebounds, proving once again that she impacts the game in every possible area, not just scoring and playmaking. Aaliyah Boston was equally dominant, finishing with 34 points and 12 rebounds, marking a career-high performance of her own. Her production was directly connected to Clark's playmaking, as Clark consistently found her in perfect scoring positions before the defense could react. Together, the two players made WNBA history by becoming the first teammates ever to both record 30-point double-doubles in the same game. No duo had achieved that before, and it immediately highlighted just how dangerous Indiana can be when both stars are locked in at the same time. Clark also added another milestone to her growing resume by setting the record for the most 30-point, 10-assist games in WNBA history. The chemistry between her and Boston continues to stand out because of how naturally their timing works. Clark often releases passes before the defense even realizes Boston is rolling into space, while Boston moves with complete trust that the ball will arrive exactly when it should.
Time on the court together, what do you think has contributed to the growth and chemistry among you two over the years?
I mean, I think we're good friends. Like, that always helps. Like, yeah, like, you can be teammates and play basketball, but if you, like, really care for each other and love each other off the court, and I think that goes for our whole team, is, like, when you have that bond and you truly get to know somebody and build a relationship with them, like, that helps, because when you're on the court, you're going to go through moments of adversity. Like, that's just basketball, and that's what helps you get you through. But also, like, I feel like I always know where Aaliyah is. I think we got a little telepathy now, so hopefully we get that going more, too.
Clark herself described it as telepathy after the game, and while that might sound like a cliche, the way they connect on film actually supports that idea. However, the game was far from one-sided. Chicago responded with a major push, led by Sydney Taylor, who came off the bench and scored 30 points in just 20 minutes of action, including 16 points in the third quarter alone.
Yeah, for either of you, this is the third straight game you've had that double-digit lead in the second quarter or third quarter, then lost it kind of in that way. Just what similarities do you see between these three games and losing the lead like that, and what can you do to just stop that from happening?
Most of it's on us. Like, we just have to make sure that we're taking care of the ball. I think in some of those stretches where teams go on run, we've turned the ball over 2 out of the 3 possessions in a row, and then we're not getting stopped. So for us, it's about sometimes maybe slowing ourselves down a little bit, making sure that we get a quality shot, and then locking down on defense. I think Chicago got out some transition buckets, got downhill a little bit, hit the pocket, and we weren't able to recover. So for us, just about taking care of the ball and then making.
Her scoring burst completely changed the momentum, erasing a 19-point Indiana lead and briefly putting Chicago ahead in the game. On Indiana's side, Kelsey Mitchell added 19 points but missed a crucial late layup in the fourth quarter that could have sealed the win in regulation, forcing overtime instead.
Caitlin, that third quarter, you and Steph pick up some techs, but it seemed like the team responded after that. What did that maybe do to kind of ignite you all and get out of that lull?
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to see Steph get a technical. And she said the ref was soft.
Crazy.
She said she thought she didn't deserve it, but yeah, the same ref teed us both up. But I mean, mine was definitely deserved, but I wanted it. Because like then after that, I got to the free throw line more. So, and the third quarter kind of started off when they were the only ones going to the free throw.
Indiana eventually came away with a 114-106 victory and set a new franchise scoring record. The game exposed a recurring issue. This was the third straight contest where the Fever allowed a double-digit lead to slip away, showing a clear pattern of late-game instability that still hasn't been solved. Clark also logged heavy minutes, playing over 40, while Mitchell was close behind at nearly 39 minutes, highlighting how physically demanding the stretch of games has become. The offensive ceiling for this team is undeniable, especially when Clark and Boston are both performing at an elite level, but the defensive lapses and late-game breakdowns continue to be a concern.